Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up, Ghana's total debt climbs to 644.6 billion cedis, reaching a new high. Also coming up, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana to make a decision on the policy rate following a two-day review of key economic developments. Plus, Ghana closes 2025 with export earnings surpassing $31 billion. We'll tell you more. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. And thanks for being with us, everyone. Ghana's total debt has climbed to 644.6 billion cedis, reaching a new high as of the end of November 2025. We have more from the latest data released by the Bank of Ghana.
November 2024, Ghana's total debt stock stood at 742 billion Ghana cedis, accounting for about 63.1% of the country's gross domestic product. Now, fast forward to November 2025, and the total debt stock stands at 644.6 billion Ghana cedis. That should come off as a reduction when you do a year-on-year comparison. However, in the last quarter of 2025, the debt numbers have been going up, although marginal. Again, the debt-GDP ratio has slowed to new levels of 45.5%. The spike in the numbers can be described as interesting, especially when the Ghana cedi had recovered strongly against the dollar during last year. That should have seen the debt numbers decline by some significant margin at the end of the day. However, our total debt bill went up. Meanwhile, the total value of the Ghanaian economy in monetary terms now stands at 1.4 trillion Ghana cedis, compared to 1.1 trillion cedis at the end of 2024.
Well, the Ghana cedi has weakened by around 4% against the US dollar over the past 3 weeks in January 2025, according to the Bank of Ghana's January economic and financial data. Analysts say this first quarter dip is a recurring trend driven by businesses seeking dollars to restock for the year. Meanwhile, President of the Canada-Ghana Chamber of Commerce, CANCHAM, Linda Vasnani, has called for greater stability of the cedi against the US dollar, warning that continued volatility could undermine business confidence and investment planning. Her comments come amid recent pressures on the local currency, which lost about 4% of its value against the US dollar within the first month of 2026. Ms. Vasnani made the call while speaking to Joy Business at the media launch of CANCHAM's 10th anniversary celebrations in Ghana.
Chamber at the 10th anniversary launch noted that while global economic pressures continue to affect emerging markets, exchange rate stability is critical for planning, pricing, and sustaining investor confidence, particularly for foreign-owned businesses.
It would be positive if it just stayed at one place and did not fluctuate. So for me, sometimes it appreciates, other times it depreciates. But it's important for the government to be creative in keeping it stable so that businesses can plan. Our emphasis in our 10th year and moving forward is to find investment opportunities for our SMEs. We all know that in terms of financing, the rates are very high in Ghana. And so our emphasis is to try and get investors, especially from Canada, to see how they can support our local industries, our SMEs, and also to build value, and then transfer knowledge to our SMEs. So that's really going to be our emphasis this year.
Beyond concerns about currency movement, the Chamber used the occasion to reflect on a decade of operations in Ghana.
The last 10 years has been amazing, I would say. I joined the Chamber 4 years ago, and the growth between the past 4 years has been remarkable. There has been some challenging moments, obviously, but as a chamber, we have turned those challenges into opportunities, and it has brought in new members, very high-level industry player companies to join us, and so we are pushing on ahead. So like I said in my speech, it's our 10th anniversary. We are just getting started.
As the Ghana-Canada Chamber of Commerce marks a decade of operations in Ghana, its leadership maintains that a stable currency environment will be key to sustaining trade, investment, and long-term economic growth.
Now, Ghana closed 2025 with export earnings surpassing $31 billion, according to the central bank. Here's more.
Earnings from gold led the pack as it brought in more than $20 billion, compared to some $10 billion that the country recorded at the end of 2024. Earnings from cocoa also went up significantly despite low prices on the international market to reach $3.8 billion ending December 2025. That of crude oil stood at $3.6 billion in terms of total export earnings ending 2025. Well, when it came to imports, Ghana spent $17 billion to finance what it needed at the end of last year. The development resulted in Ghana's trade surplus reaching a record $13.6 billion compared to $3.7 billion at the end of 2024. For some, the development now puts the Bank of Ghana in a strong position to support the Ghana Cedi and intervene on the market when needed. This could also go a long way to impact positively on Ghana's credit ratings in the coming months.
In other news, government statistician Dr. Hassan Idrisu says Ghana's construction sector is experiencing a much calmer inflation environment as annual building inflation fell for the 8th consecutive month in December to 4.4%, down from 5.9% in November 2025. Listen to him speak at the release of the Building Cost Index.
4.4% marks the 8th consecutive drop in year-on-year inflation. It is also a 1.5 percentage point decline from the November 2025 inflation rate of 5.9% for the industry. And it represents an 18.2 percentage points decline from the previous year's building inflation of 22.6%. So what does this mean? It means that the strong price pressures we experienced the previous year have reduced significantly, and the construction sector is experiencing a much calmer inflation environment. Now, let's break the overall inflation into the three major groups I mentioned earlier, namely.
Now, members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana will make a decision on the policy rate following a two-day review of key economic developments. The current rate stands at 18%, and early indications suggest most committee members favor a reduction, though the exact margin remains unclear. We have a special edition of Beyond the Numbers coming up right after the marketplace with coverage of the MPC press conference today. There you see in your shots happening right after the marketplace. We'll take you to the press conference to get the latest, and we'll have some analysis for you there. Announced a new minimum capital requirement for firms in the microfinance sector as part of updated guidelines taking effect today. Existing microfinance institutions, including community banks and credit unions, will need to raise their capital to 50 million cedis by the end of the year, while new entrants will be required to start with 100 million cedis. Turning to some more news, residents of Ejusu and Ashanti region have hailed the introduction of a common stakeholders platform created by the Electricity Company of Ghana to enhance fault reporting and official response. Officials of the ECG say the introduction of the WhatsApp platform, home to over 600 key stakeholders in the area, has helped halve outages as faults are reported in a more coordinated manner and dealt with promptly. My colleague Ohemi Teria has more.
The Ejusu ECG district is one of the largest operational areas, as it serves several communities in at least 4 districts in the Ashanti region. The increasing number of customers and demand for stable power required an innovative approach to meet demands. Stakeholders, including assembly members, security agencies, educational institutions and others, are on the ECG WhatsApp platform. Complaints of faults with a waiting time of less than 5 minutes are dealt with by a standby team of engineers.
On the stakeholders platform at Abankro Macho Junction.
District engineer at the Ejusu ECG, Sylvester Kwame Afedo, tells Joy News over 600 stakeholders are engaged on a regular basis improving efficiency.
In the beginning, we started with assembly members. So we realized that we need to expand it or let others come on board. So if you are a customer of Ejiso District, ECG, and you report a fault, we pick your number, we called you, we will tell you that we have this platform, we will add you to it. So you could see that almost all the institutional heads are on it. Police head, even all the SHS around Ejiso District, their heads are on it. MCE, the current and the past one, they are all on it. We have anybody who come to our office to report a fault, we add you to it.
The daily engagements, which allow customers to report faults, either through writing or voice notes, have helped reduce outages by more than half. It has also improved supply and customer satisfaction.
It has really helped us in reducing our outage duration. Before the platform was created, when you look at our outage statistics at the end of the week and at the end of the month, the outage duration was quite high. But after creating the platform, has reduced our outage duration for more than half.
So if you don't even have our number, you quickly report to the assemblyman, then assemblyman report. So it make our work so efficient. It make us have quick access to the problem within the district and attend to the customers as easy as possible. It make us so efficient.
Electricity consumers have hailed what they say is a proactive move of the Ejiso ECG office. They attribute the stakeholder platform created about a year ago for reliable and stable power supply in the area.
There was no one for you to speak to where there's a problem. You have to come to the office and report the issue. So when they added me to the platform, it has reduced the gap of communication between myself and that of ECG. So it has really helped me to get information even when there's going to be outages of power. You're able to get first-hand information before it happens.
Problem be a beba me hua me frɛ wo mo no. In 5 minutes no more to omo ka aduru ho. Ɛna me anso yesoro ho adwosoman ho. Light ne ta dundum rough. Nti ano so ebi a me duru ho na fie bi mu ho a problem asi a ɛne bi gya me fa phone na me frɛ wo mo. Ana se me ye audio etoso.
While residents of Ejiso are celebrating ECG in the area, the situation is the opposite in Bomso, Aija, Tech Junction and Akatego. Intermittent power outages are more than common in these areas.
Light back to be cut off. Then ma, this whole flow one, so be from one son, ya baby. And the bed be a baby 3 hours, 2 hours from my baby.
Her lighting system, dear, and near crack. And you know, because I report to Eddie Achreno. A mayor muton swing, so light piano would tone so near Dumno. Near Dintama market crano, and near crack. Yes, Rama, your fridge in your say, yes, Rama, you see the form, Omuncho when you measure tech top high, and from my pan. Omudumuna, it's maybe more than 5 hours.
While residents in Ejiso enjoy a reliable power supply, their counterparts in Bomso and its environs say a critical intervention is required to improve their situation. From Kumasi, for Joy News, Oyementeria reporting.
All right, time to talk tech. The Minister of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, Samuel Nate George, has announced sweeping reforms to end what he describes as massive wastage in government IT procurement. The move follows the discovery of widespread duplication of ICT contracts across state institutions, with service providers allegedly paid multiple times for the same systems. The minister says new controls involving the Finance Ministry, the Public Procurement Authority, and NITA will ensure value for money, protect national data, and stop further abuse of public funds. I'm joined by lead for Eyes of Africa, Henry Kobler. Henry, good afternoon to you. How significant is the problem of duplicated ICT contracts in government, and what does it say about past oversight mechanisms?
Thank you very much, Daryl. So I think that it's a very general problem that cuts across in terms of procurement when it comes down to governments relatively issuing some of these concessions to people to sort of do supplies of ICT equipment to sectors, different sectors across board. But I think that the problem goes way beyond just duplications. It's more of people not really understanding what is supposed to even be supplied. And so that gives it a lot of problems in terms of what's really needed across and what is really already brought in most of the times. And I think that we, in the part where we're looking at software that will probably come in to be able to curb some of these things, we have to really go on the ground to also now ascertain what really brings in some of these issues. I mean, it's not just about duplications of some of these supplies that really comes true, but it's more of how they're even used, what are the lifespan of the products that are sort of brought in usually, and what is the repair mechanisms that are across board to some of these things. That's against we procuring new ones as well. And so I think the problem goes just way beyond just the procurement phase of it, but it goes into repairs, it goes into handing over. I mean, in some circumstances, some companies that are out there would literally do a point of giving out some of these ICT products at a timeline so that they do not get to their end stage, but they got to get to usually have some level of funding, can be able to procure new ones. And so it goes way beyond that. Again, I think that the part where you are having some suppliers having faulted on some of these, they should actually go under prosecutions and be taken out of the system, because then they sort of are committing a crime where it shouldn't be that they would be given other chances to be doing some of these supplies again.
Will routing all ICT procurement through NITA and the Finance Ministry realistically stop wastage, or could it introduce new bottlenecks?
For me, I think that it would introduce a new bottleneck, because everybody's sort of going to have to deal with. I mean, the whole point is that so far as there's a human intervention that comes in generally, you're always going to have some level of bottlenecks. And so the problem should go way beyond just we looking at a procurement or using a software or even having go-throughs through different agencies before they sort of go through approvals. I think that we should really look at the framework. I'm looking forward to the framework and how it would really impact and come through. We could run a pilot project on that and see if it would really work. But I think that human interventions would always bring in a new bottleneck.
From a data security standpoint, how critical is the decision to keep sensitive government and trade data hosted within Ghana?
So I think that it's very important that we start looking at taking charge of our data, really. We have no option but to do that, because as against, I literally had to just write an examination on IT governance, and looking at it, I think that we have the resources, the personnel, and then the infrastructure really to be able to be hosting most of our data here. It shouldn't be a rocket science to have your own data storages here. And all of that. I think that he had also mentioned in terms of the minister's points that we're looking at also transitioning almost most of the websites that are sort of hosted for companies here in Ghana to the .com. I mean, for longest, we've had the .gh domain in the possession of a private entity. And I think that it's high time that the government really takes charge of some of these infrastructure points when it comes down to ICT. It's very important that we go through that process to be able to hold up. If we're not, it's going to cut across. Now, I see a mad rush for people purchasing artificial intelligence. Everybody's trying to do integrations with artificial intelligence and all of that. I mean, there has to be a standard where we own the data, we control the data, we own the infrastructure, and then whenever there are procurement processes that has to go through to be able to get in suppliers on any ICT asset, it goes through a particular framework which is easy and then makes it prudent enough that we can actually do an oversight of it easily.
All right, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time, Henry Kobler, lead for Eyes of Africa, joining us for Let's Talk Tech. And that's the marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Just a reminder, we have special coverage of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting coming your way in the next 6 minutes. There you go, George Rafe, Isaac Kofi J, Winston Taki, and Alfred Appiah will be on the show to break down the numbers for you. That's at 1:30. Don't go anywhere. Meantime, more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We leave you with our latest international summaries.
Hello, welcome to Money Lab. My name is Paul Manti, MD of EDC Investment Limited. We have been discussing personal finance, and today I want to bring your attention to an important area, that is spending habit. You need to pay attention to your spending habit. What are some of the areas I want you to pay attention to? One is first-time spending. Any major expenditure for the first time, pay attention to it. Buying your first car, building your first house, among others. Because anybody who builds a house, all other things being equal, if you ask them to build that house again, they are likely to spend less. Pay attention to the utility bills. Avoid the impulse buying as much as possible. Anytime you throw away leftover food, remember it is money you are throwing away. Your salary must dictate what you eat, not your appetite. And I want to encourage you that don't be in competition with anybody, because the grass may look green at the other side, but it may be synthetic grass. Many thanks for making time for Money Lab. Financial independence is indeed possible.